Hey everyone! So typically I use this channel to do covers of songs. However, I want to start using the channel to also raise awareness. This week, as some of you may or may not know, is National Suicide Prevention Week. But before I begin talking, I want to go ahead and give a trigger warning. This video does contain discussions of suicide. If at any time you are feeling triggered, please stop watching the video and give yourself some time to relax. I think that this is ultimately an important topic to discuss, but we rarely do so. The question is, why? Because we see it as taboo. Something that we know exists, yet we should never really speak of. That's what I don't get, though. Why don't we speak of it? Is it because it's depressing? Is it because we don't agree with someone taking their own life? We as a society need to become more aware of suicide because it is something that happens regardless of how much we talk about it. Globally, it is the second leading cause of death between the ages of 15 and 29. According to the CDC, it is the 10th leading cause of death in the US. Still, suicide prevention and awareness is not as widely discussed as it should be. So let's talk about some facts. According to the WHO, or the World Health Organization, over 800,000 people globally commit suicide. If you take into account that there are about 7 billion people here on Earth, 800,000 doesn't seem like a lot. But if you do the math, and if I did the math correctly, suicide then accounts for at least 8.75% of all deaths globally. Still seems like a small amount, but in reality, that's a lot. While females are more likely to have suicidal thoughts, men are more likely to commit suicide. As a matter of fact, 79% of all suicides in the US are committed by men. That's at least 4 times higher than women. Going off that, women tend to have more passive means of committing suicide, whereas men tend to be more aggressive. So passive methods include self-injury, such as cutting and overdosing. Aggressive methods include the use of a gun or jumping off of a building or bridge. So we haven't even begun to discuss all these different facts. And we haven't even discussed the fact that adults aren't the only ones that commit suicide. In the US, 1 out of 13 high school students attempt suicide 1 or more times. That's a shockingly high number of high school teenagers that just attempt suicide. In terms of regional distribution of global suicides, 11 low and middle income countries in Southeast Asia account for 39% of global suicides. These low and middle income countries in Southeast Asia make up the highest percentage of global suicides. These facts are only the tip of the iceberg. I could go on and on about facts in regards to suicide. However, I want to move on to risk factors for suicidal behaviors. There are several risk factors that come into play when discussing those that attempt or commit suicide. It is important to understand, though, that just because one may have these risk factors doesn't mean that suicide will occur. The first risk factor may seem kind of obvious. Previous suicide attempts. If someone is set on committing suicide and has had previous attempts, they may try again. Keep in mind, though, that things may change and suicide may not occur. Other risk factors include the history of depression or other mental illnesses, alcohol and or other drug abuse, family history of suicide or violence, and physical illness. These are probably the most prevalent risk factors. So let's say you notice these risk factors in someone. You're a little worried, you kind of want to address it. The next thing you should be aware of is something I like to call the 3 big ones. If you notice any of these, you should take action right away. The 3 big ones are: 1. talking about wanting to die or kill oneself. 2, talking about feeling hopeless or having no reason to live. And 3, looking for a way to kill oneself. These are extremely straightforward and they're easy to remember. Other behaviors and actions that you should be aware of include talking about being a burden to others, an increase of alcohol or drug usage, sleeping too little or too much, withdrawal from activities, family, friends, or displaying extreme mood swings. So, let's say you are worried about someone. They have shown behaviors or actions that make you think that they may want to commit or are thinking about suicide. If you are a friend or family member and are comfortable with this, you can take them aside and talk to them. One of the best things you can do for someone who may be suicidal is to let them know that you are here for them and that you care. Do not judge, just lend your shoulder and an ear to listen to them. Sometimes just talking about it can help the individual. If you feel that you are able to, then you can recommend that they call suicide hotline or possibly see a therapist. If they are in any immediate danger though, please call 911 or your local emergency services. The last thing I want to discuss is suicide prevention. How can we prevent others from committing suicide or at least lower the number? Some things that we can do are extremely simple, but we don't think about it. For example, if someone you know is having a rough time, ask if they want to talk about it. Like I said, sometimes talking about it can really help the person. Another thing we can do is to increase the number of resources, both locally and nationally, that are able to provide assistance to those in need. While we do have local and national resources, I feel as if there aren't enough in numbers or aren't enough that are qualified. These are only 2 of several ways in which we can make a change. As a matter of fact, if you all have any more recommendations on what we can do, then leave a comment below and let me know. Maybe we'll talk it over. Now before I go, I just thought I would let you know that even if I don't know you, I care. There are people out there that care about you and are willing to help you if you need a hand. If you or someone you know are experiencing suicidal behaviors or want to attempt it, please know that you are not alone. So in the description below, I have left a few resources that are available and free to anyone who is in need of them. With that being said, I hope you all are doing well, and I hope that you all stay amazing. Goodbye.